Dick Cavett once made Richard Nixon so nervous the president mentioned him 26 times on secret tapes. Now he's 88 and living a life that would confuse even his sharpest guests. After losing his wife to cancer, he remarried at 74. After a brutal stroke, he moved into a house too big to explore. After thinking his career was over, millions of Gen Z viewers discovered him online. He even starred in a rock music video last year. The man who interviewed legends is becoming one himself, but not the way anyone imagined. Dick Cavett was born on November 19, 1936. His birth certificate says Kearney, Nebraska, but he often said he was born in Gibbon. Both towns are in Buffalo County. Gibbon is where his family lived and Kearney had the hospital. Over the years, Kit gave mixed answers. He sometimes joked about it on his show. He told Carol Burnett he was born in Gibbon, but in other interviews he said Kearney. The confusion has never gone away. Encyclopedias and news stories list both towns. Even Cavett seemed to enjoy the mystery. For someone who built a career on truth and clever interviews, the fact that no one knows exactly where he was born feels strangely fitting. Just 10 years old, Cat lost his mother, Arabelle Richards. She died of cancer. That loss followed him for the rest of his life. He said no moment in adulthood ever hurt more. He was the only child in his class without a mother. That made him feel alone. He remembered hearing his father say, "The thing that's killing her is that she'll never get to see how Dick develops." That line stayed with him forever. It dug into his memory and added to his sadness. Cavett later said, "This tragedy helped form his personality. It shaped the way he interviewed guests. It added weight to his humor. It gave him a deep understanding of pain, even as he built a life in the spotlight." One night in a church basement in Lincoln, Nebraska, something strange happened. Cavett, still just a boy, sat in the audience for a magic show. The magician was another Nebraska kid named Johnny Carson. At that time, Carson was not famous. He was just a teenager with a deck of cards and a dream. Cavett watched in awe. Years later, Cavett also started doing magic. He even filled in for Carson at local events. That moment in the basement wasn't just a childhood memory. It was the start of something big. Both boys would grow up to become kings of late-night television. It all began with magic tricks in a small Nebraska room. Cavett didn't just like fame, he was obsessed with it. As a kid, in Lincoln, he staged magic shows in people's homes and schools. He hosted his own radio drama while still in high school. He hung around theaters to meet stars like Charles Lawton and Bob Hope. He wasn't shy. He wanted it all. Limousines, bands, applause. But this obsession came from something deeper. It helped him escape the pain of losing his mother. It gave him something to chase. Purpose. That drive pushed him out of Nebraska and into the Ivy League. It gave him the fire to survive the cutthroat world of showbiz. Cavett wasn't just dreaming of fame. He was preparing for it. When he got to Yale, Cavett didn't slow down. He started with English, then switched to drama. He performed in plays. He wrote, he learned, but something dark was happening inside him. At 18, he fell into his first major depression. It wasn't talked about much in the 1950s. People called it a slump, but Cavett knew it was something worse. He said it was like walking through fog, unable to move, barely able to get out of bed. He kept going, but it was hard. He didn't tell many people. Even as he stood on stage making others laugh, he felt empty. That pain stayed with him. It shaped his interviews later. It helped him talk to guests who also suffered. His years at Yale weren't just about success. They were about survival. In 1960, Cavett was working at Time magazine. He earned $51 a week as a copy Boy, it was a dead-end job, but it gave him time to think. He heard Jack Parr, host of The Tonight Show, needed better jokes, so Cavett took a chance. He wrote a few one-liners, stuffed them in a time envelope, and waited for Parr's room. When Parr walked out, Cavett handed him the envelope. No introduction, no explanation, just a gamble. That night, Parr read the jokes on air. The audience loved them. Parr never said who wrote them, but within weeks Cavett had a job as a writer. That single act changed everything. It launched his career and turned him from a nameless copy boy into a rising star. That night was the real test. Cavett didn't stay home. He snuck into the studio audience. He sat there, nervous, unsure if his jokes would make it on air or worse, be laughed at for the wrong reasons. Then Parr pulled a folded sheet from his pocket. Cavett's jokes. He told the audience, "A kid gave me this. I don't know if it's any good." Cavett froze. Then the audience started laughing. Real loud laughter. In that moment, Cavett felt something shift. The fear melted. He had made it. His jokes had worked. He wasn't invisible anymore. That moment in the dark of the studio was his quiet explosion into show business. When Johnny Carson took over The Tonight Show in 1962, he remembered Cavett. The two had met back in Nebraska. Carson liked Cavett's writing. He offered him a job. Cavett became a trusted part of the team. He wrote monologues. He helped book guests. He even suggested Woody Allen, who later became a star. Carson was private. He didn't let many people in, but he let Cavett in. They had dinners together. They talked shop. Carson even called him Richard as a nickname. Their bond was rare in a cutthroat business. It was real. Cavett was no longer on the sidelines. He was shaping the voice of late-night television from behind the scenes. In 1963, Cavett took a big offer. Jerry Lewis was starting his own variety show on ABC. The network gave him $8 million per season. Cavett got a writing job for $1,200 a week, but everything went wrong. The show was chaotic. Microphone